In a recent video, we made reference to Gundams as an inspiration for our Warhammer, and it sounded like people really wanted to see Gundams in Warhammer. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to put Gundams in the grim dark future of Warhammer. But what's this? A secret encrypted message. I'm in. Commander, we need your help assembling the ultimate team to fight for the name of justice across the universe. Signed, the Marvel Strike Force team. Ooh, I accept.
Marvel Strike Force is a squad-based RPG with stunning visuals where you choose your favorite superheroes and supervillains to save the universe against foes like Doctor Doom and Apocalypse. Power up your favorite characters to clear campaign missions, unlock stronger gear, and triumph over other players in PvP modes like Alliance War and Real-Time Arena. The 6th anniversary has you covered, allowing you to unlock up to 17 total characters within the first 30 days, including Spider-Man, Deadpool, Thor, Captain America, and much more. If you're looking for any more reasons to join today, Marvel Strike Force's 6th anniversary is also offering gifts just for logging in. Receive character shards, an anniversary diamond orb, gear, and other enticing items as you take part in the 2190 days of Marvel Strike Force's weekly events and unlock the Nick Fury costume. And if you sign up now, you can use the promo code MSF6 for the 310 Deadpool shards, 500 power cores, and 5 premium orbs. And if you're an existing player, use the promo code NIGHT to receive 15 Nightcrawler shards, 500 power cores, and 5 premium orbs. Sign up now to join the fun today. Join Marvel Strike Forces by clicking the links in the description or scanning the QR code. And a huge thank you to Marvel Strike Force for sponsoring this video. And now, back to said video. So if I'm going to blend a Gundam into Warhammer, I'm gonna have to follow some rules. For example, putting a clean, shiny anime mech into the grim, dark future of Warhammer, it's gonna look wrong, you know? So my challenge is gonna be seeing how well I can blend one into the other, of how well I can convince you, the viewer, that these two things totally belong together. But as you can imagine, this concept is nothing new, and if you look online, you can find all sorts of incredible conversions and even scratch builds, but I wanna really challenge myself, and I'm gonna see how much I can do with just the base model kit and a really nice paint job. To show you at home just how far you can take a fun idea and a coat of paint, but I'm getting ahead of myself. At the studio, we just happen to have a Freedom Gundam in high grade featured in the anime Gundam Seed Destiny. A pretty iconic design in itself, and with its beam cannons and accessories mounted on its back like wings, it really will resemble an angel of death. Perfect for what I want to make. But what is the backstory and reasoning for having a Gundam inside Warhammer? Let's talk some lore. With the aforementioned angel silhouette, it would make sense initially to make the protagonist Gundam a loyalist warrior, right? But any Imperial worth his xenophobic salt would immediately declare such a device heresy and destroy it. Besides, turning a good guy into a villain is much more fun. So what 40k Space Marine traitor faction with a strong penchant for giant war machines, minimal chaos corruption is there? Oh yes, this is going to be an Iron Warriors Gundam.
And now that the Gundam is completely built, it's time to take it all apart. While a little bit counterintuitive, this will make it a lot easier to paint. I just need to remember to move some of the joints in between spraying coats. I don't want to reposition a knee later and see shiny white plastic staring at me. Now, since I'm going to paint this as an Iron Warriors Gundam, you would think that I'm going to start with a silver prime or something, but no, I'm going to go for a flat black. This is because I want to build up a whole lot of character and texture in the paint rather than just going straight to a flat silver with aerosol. My plan is to paint the armor in 4 colors. So I'm going to start with a really nice dark metal. Here I'm using a lot of scale color paints, particularly black metal, and I'm going to liberally dry brush this over every single piece, regardless of what color it's going to end up eventually. And you can see I'm really working the brush into every single flat panel here. This is to create all that texture I was talking about. Gundams being anime are really nice, clean, and flat, and I don't want that for my grim, dark Gundam. So my plan is to introduce all these tiny little micro textures, which will also help sell the scale. That's very important. And now once I've finished the laborious task of dry brushing every single individual piece, I'm going to move on to the next color. And for that, I'm going to choose a blue metal. And I'm basically going to use this as a sort of stylish texture. I'm not going to apply this over every part of the model. I'm just going to scumble it down in patches, mostly where I think the actual shadows would fall on the metal areas to emulate cool shadows. And it's very subtle, but here you can see the difference this makes. There's just a little bit more life and vibrance to the piece that I've already put the blue metal on, as opposed to just leaving it silver. It's a personal thing though. If you're going to paint an entire army, you could probably skip this step, to be honest. But with that done, it's time to move on to the next color. And for this, I'm going to use a really ruddy brown copper. Or if you're feeling really thrifty, you could just use a brown paint. But for this, I'm going to focus on all of the inner areas, joins, and particularly vents. Again, this is to create contrast and interest, but also give that almost rusty feel. And that'll leave me with a nice pile of silver, cobalt, and brown pieces. Which of course means I can move on to the next step, applying a final light highlight to the most sharpest of edges using a very bright silver. And while applying this, I'm going to move between applying it very lightly and also forcing it straight onto the model to create even more texture, particularly on the wing edges. This will create the effect of freshly scratched metal, as if it's been used like a blade to batter its opponents down. And with that done, we've finished all of the silver, so we can move on to one of the other colors that the Iron Warriors like, a really strong gold or brass, using pictures of Space Marines and Dreadnoughts as reference. Then once I've selected and painted all of the areas gold, I'll add a bit of luster using some brown and sepia washes. However, take care not to let this pool everywhere, as these are really large flat pieces, which washes do not look very good on. As I go through all the components of the Gundam, and a couple of them fell over, helping to pick out the edges and also obscure any mistakes I might have made. And now that I've added a bit of color to my shiny Wolverine claws, I'm going to do a final pass using an even brighter silver just to really get those highlights towards the tops, get some real pop. This will help to blend everything in just a little bit, and then we can move on to some of the finer details. I hear hazard stripes calling my name right now. So let's go do that, and then we can get on to some more fun. So yes, it is finally time to move on to the most Iron Warrior-y part of this model, the hazard stripes. And to do that, there's a small decision to be made. Do you start with black or do you start with yellow? Now, it's a commonly known fact that it is easier to paint black on top of yellow, but also it is easier to paint yellow over silver. So of course, I'm going to start with yellow. So just like I did with the gold areas, I'm going to select a few choice areas to paint hazard stripes onto. However, these are going to be a lot smaller than you might be used to. This is once again because of the scale of this Gundam. It's a huge war machine, and I want the hazard stripes to be in scale with all of the little infantry that will be running around its feet. So once I've applied a few thin lines of yellow to different parts of the model, I can then start painting in the black lines, completing the hazard stripes. And if it looks just a little bit messy at the end, you can trim it off using a bit more black liner, and this will help separate the hazard stripes from the rest of the model. Then to finish them off, as a quick bit of weathering, you can apply an orange contrast paint onto these to dull down the yellow in areas. Then for the final stage of painting this Gundam, I'm going to paint the face, namely the eyes. I want to make them look like they're glowing red. So I'm going to push ahead full of confidence and not check whether the airbrush has been properly cleaned. A rookie mistake, as you can see the yellow and the red suddenly spatter, but I'm going to recover from this, as I'll persevere long enough to get the white and then the subsequent red onto the eyes. For the cleanup of all the areas that shouldn't be glowing red, I'm simply going to mix a black with a dark red and paint those areas over, fairly thinly so just a little bit shows through. It's not the end of the world, as a bit of light spillage onto metal areas isn't such a bad thing. Then, having been thoroughly upset by the airbrush, I'm going to go in and paint the eyes manually. And one trick for painting glowing eyes is that for every stage or layer of paint you apply, always start with the eyes and then move outwards. This will help you keep a gauge of how much glowing should be occurring, as every time you move up to a brighter color, you apply less and less away from the eyes, until I'm using just pure white exclusively for the center of the eyes themselves. And then we're done. There. And now I've finished painting the Gundam, it's time to once again reassemble it. Woo! And this is the moment of truth. Will this look amazing? I haven't actually tested this off camera. I've completely saved this and myself for this moment. And there's only one way to properly test this out, with some reveals. A huge thank you to all of our patrons. It is you that allow us to accomplish such crazy and zany projects on this channel. And if you're interested in signing up to our Patreon, you will get exclusive goodies like behind the scenes snippets and also access into our monthly mini review in which you can send in your finished projects and even works in progress, and we get to check them out and give you some critique and feedback. It's always the highlight of the month for us, and we love it every single time. So again, if you're interested, the links are in the description below. And there we have it, a grimdark Gundam fit for the world of 40k. This was a lot of fun, and I'd actually really like to do this again. Maybe go full ham and just do some full conversions, like from the ground up. That would be really cool. And if you're interested in seeing such things, let us know in the comments below what you'd like to see and even inspiration for what we could do next time. And I hope I've managed to scratch that little Gunpla itch that you might have had. And so again, a big thank you to our sponsor, Marvel Strike Force, for sponsoring this video. The links are again in the description below, and until then, I'm off, I'm going to America, and I'll see possibly some of you at Adepticon. Bye! Okay, I do have to do a couple of things, but then I'm gone.